When I was 9, I saved Joanna Vance from an explosion. The shockwave left me with permanent hearing damage, and I've had to wear a hearing aid ever since. She was racked with guilt. She insisted we get engaged, swearing with tears in her eyes, "Louis, I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." But when I was 18, she did something to impress the campus heartthrob. She pulled off my hearing aid and, in front of him and all her friends, said with disgust, "You little burden. I'm so sick of you. I really wish you hadn't made it back then. That you just died." I clutched the doctor's report in my pocket that said my hearing was fully restored, and I didn't say a word. When I got home, I quietly changed my college applications and had my parents go with her family to break off the engagement. "Joanna Vance, that's it for us. Our paths will never cross again. Louis, I really wish you hadn't made it back then. That you just died." The moment Joanna Vance said it, the private room erupted. "Damn, Joanna, you're a savage. Next time, wait till he gets his hearing fixed and say it right to his face. I'd love to see if his eyes get all red. That look of quiet suffering is so intense. What could he do even if he heard? Who'd want a cripple anyway? He's lucky a girl like you even pities him." I froze. My hand clenched the medical report in my bag, my mind reeling. After the SATs, my parents took me out of state to see a specialist who fixed my hearing. I didn't need the hearing aid anymore. Today was my birthday party. I had planned to give Joanna a surprise. I was going to tell her my hearing was back to normal, that I wouldn't be a burden to her anymore. But instead of a surprise, I walked into a bloodbath of truth. Joanna's words were a knife twisting in my heart. The air rushed out of my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. My nails dug into my palms, the pain sharp and real. I bit my lip and looked up at her, wanting to ask why. But she didn't seem to notice me. She was fiddling with the white hearing aid in her hand, a casual, mocking smile on her face. "All right, that's enough. Louis saved my life when we were kids, after all. Watch what you say and don't let this get back to him." Everyone immediately got the message. Right, our lips are sealed. Man, Louis should be grateful. Being a deaf guy who gets to be with Joanna? Totally worth it. Another round of laughter filled the room. Okay, Joanna said. "Louis is more of a sensitive bookworm, not wild like me. He couldn't hang with you guys anyway. Let's not take it too far." Henry Scott walked over with a grin and made a grand announcement. "Joanna, you passed my test. Now I believe you don't actually like Louis. So, yeah, we can go on a date tomorrow." A soft smile touched Joanna's lips, her eyes overflowing with a tenderness so thick you could almost touch it. "'Kay," she murmured. I just stood there, my mind completely blank. The world seemed to stop. The jeers, the whoops, and the cheers of the crowd flooded my ears, eventually melting into a sharp, piercing ring. "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Lost in my thoughts, I didn't notice Joanna putting my hearing aid back on. A smile played on her lips. "Happy, you big goof?" I should have been. My 18th birthday party, a confession from the girl I liked, making it official in front of all our friends. It was like something out of a rom-com. But now, I opened my mouth and found my throat too dry to speak. The others jumped in, one after another. "Louis, while your hearing aid was out," Joanna was whispering the sappiest sweet nothings. "It gave us all goosebumps. TSK, I wish I had a childhood sweetheart." "You lucky bastard," Henry said, draping an arm over Joanna's shoulder and playfully punching her arm. "What did you do in a past life to land a great guy like this?" I didn't say anything. My eyes scanned the faces of everyone in the room. They were either smiling with congratulations or giving me a thumbs up. Some were even joking about saving the date for the wedding. Not a single person's mask slipped. Their expressions were disturbingly natural. I suddenly remembered all the parties we'd been to this year, and how many times this had happened. Joanna would take off my hearing aid, her eyes soft, and say something I couldn't hear. Then she'd put it back on. And everyone would tell me she was whispering sweet nothings, making vows to never let me down. If I hadn't gotten my hearing fixed, if I hadn't heard the shards of glass hidden beneath her sweet words, the sheer ugliness of it all, I would have never known the truth. Henry suddenly exclaimed, "Whoa, He pulled his arm off Joanna's shoulder and gave me an over-the-top apology. Sorry, Louis. That's just how we are, like one of the guys. Don't get jealous. Joanna laughed it off. Oh, stop it. You're always so dramatic, not like a real man at all. Then, the two of them started chasing each other around the room as if no one else was there. Everyone acted like this was completely normal. I closed my eyes, turned to leave, but Henry, with his quick eyes, reached out and stopped me. His expression was full of disapproval. Everyone came here for your birthday party, to celebrate with you. You're just gonna walk out? Joanna reached up to ruffle my hair, her tone a soft, exasperated coaxing. You haven't even opened your presents yet. Don't throw a tantrum like a spoiled brat. Okay? I frowned, instinctively pulling away. Ignoring the sudden darkness in her eyes, I told her, enunciating every word, we're breaking up. Don't contact me again. Then I walked out of the room without looking back. On the way home, my phone blew up with messages. Joanna was confused. What's your problem now? Everyone went to all this trouble to celebrate with you and get you presents, and you just leave them hanging like that? Henry was just excited. He's a really open and friendly guy, he wasn't thinking. He took his arm off right away and even apologized to you. Didn't he? A few other friends started tagging me in the group chat. Louis, you're being a real asshole, you know that? Storming out for no reason? What did we ever do to you? Wow, no good deed goes unpunished. I almost had to laugh. I sent back a cold reply. Who's the real asshole here? Then I blocked each of them and left the class group chat. When I got home, I briefly explained what happened to my parents. I pressed my lips together, facing their concerned expressions. A wave of sharp, aching pain washed over me, and my voice cracked. I don't love her anymore, and I don't want to go to NYU with her. I don't want to be with her or get married. My mom hugged me tight. Sweetheart, it's not the end of the world. Mom and Dad will go with you tomorrow to break off the engagement. You can apply to any college you want. We support you. We've always got your back. My dad led me to the living room and placed the cake knife in my hand. We didn't get a chance to bring the cake over before you came back. It's perfect. The three of us can have a nice, quiet birthday celebration. 18 years ago, when you were born, I smiled so much my face hurt. Don't be sad, birthday boy. Come on, cut the cake and make a wish. Okay? I held back my sadness and, with my parents' blessings, I made a wish, blew out the candles, and finally managed to smile. Just as I was about to cut the cake, the doorbell rang. I composed myself and opened the door to find Joanna. She had followed me. A light rain had started to fall outside. Thunder rumbled, and flashes of lightning lit up the sky. Joanna was soaked to the bone, water dripping from her hair, but she didn't seem to care. She just smiled and held out a beautifully wrapped gift box. See? I picked this out just for you. Stop sulking. Everyone's still at the party waiting for you. And don't talk about breaking up again. Okay? Looking at the designer watch in the box, I felt a flicker of recognition. The watch band Henry was wearing today. It looked like it was from the same brand. I remained unmoved, not taking the gift. Joanna's arm hung awkwardly in the air. After a moment, she finally lowered her exhausted arm and asked with a hint of impatience, "What is wrong with you today? You were getting all misty-eyed when I asked you out, and now you just flip a switch? Louis, do you even remember how sweet and obedient you used to be?" A lump formed in my throat. I didn't even want to talk to her. I had been living in a beautiful dream, thinking she loved only me, that we would go to NYU together, eat together, live together, and after graduation we'd get engaged, married, and have kids. Today, that dream was brutally torn apart. I finally understood the truth. She didn't love me at all. To her, I was just the burden who had saved her life as a child, a ripple in the water that would quickly disappear. I took a deep breath and repeated calmly, "I'm not sulking. I'm serious about breaking up. Let's not contact each other again." But Joanna suddenly snapped. She threw the gift box on the ground, her eyes flashing with anger. "Louis, what the hell is your problem?" Her words were cut short. My mom stepped in front of me, frowning slightly. "Joanna, watch your tone. You're soaked. You should go home, take a hot shower, and get some rest. It's getting late, so we won't ask you to stay for dinner. My dad offered her a piece of cake with a polite, fixed smile. Louis's already made his wish, and he doesn't need a gift. You can take this piece of cake with you. Get home safe. A young woman shouldn't be out this late by herself. Joanna stood there stunned for a long moment, and I think I knew why. Whenever she'd come over in the past, my parents had always been warm and welcoming. They had never once not let her in. She couldn't understand why their attitude was so different today, and she opened her mouth to say something, but couldn't find the words. The door slammed shut in her face with a sharp crack, leaving her standing there, completely shut out. I didn't have much of an appetite. I ate a couple of bites of cake and went to my room to get ready for bed. My mom was worried. She sat on the edge of my bed and asked, "Louis, are you really sure about this?" My dad and I didn't talk much about our feelings, but my mom knew me better than anyone. She knew how I felt about Joanna. She knew just how much I loved her. I looked down at the white hearing aid in my hand. I suddenly didn't know what to say. I just couldn't believe how much a person could change. When we were kids, after moving into this upscale neighborhood, I used to follow Joanna around everywhere, calling her big sister. Our families were close and did business together. One day, both our families went to a factory on the outskirts of town, but there was a sudden explosion. Remembering the survival skills my parents had taught me, I managed to escape. But Joanna was trapped in the fire. I saw the flames growing fiercer, saw her frozen in place, about to be consumed by the fire. I don't know where the strength came from. Before anyone could react, I rushed back in and dragged Joanna out. We were almost clear. But then the factory exploded again. The aftershock hit me hard, and I was unconscious for a long time. When I woke up, I couldn't hear. The mood between my parents was heavy. Joanna's parents were full of unspoken apologies. I just lay in bed day after day, not wanting to talk or interact with anyone. Joanna decided to skip school. She brought me all sorts of snacks and treats, but I was completely unresponsive. She thought the hospital was too depressing, so she snuck me out, took me to a clinic, and had this white hearing aid fitted for me. She even drew the little rice stalks and fish on it herself. She was just a kid herself, but she clumsily put the hearing aid on me and promised with a serious face, "Louis, from now on, I'll protect you. My tutor said your name is special, and that means you're special, too. You're going to be okay. They say a goldfish only has a 7-second memory. But not me. I'll always protect my prince." I was the only one who remembered those childhood vows. If 9-year-old Louis had heard 18-year-old Joanna say, "I really wish you hadn't made it back then, that you just died," he probably would have been too hurt to speak. But over the years, I'd gotten used to people whispering about my hearing loss. I calmly accepted that Joanna's feelings had changed. People grow up. I saved her life, and her family, the Vances, wanted to make it up to me. Over the years, they had given our company business deals at nearly a 50% discount, which was a very sincere gesture. When it came down to it, we didn't owe each other anything anymore. And I firmly believe that I am a living, breathing person, not an accessory to someone else. I don't need to depend on anyone to live my life. So, I looked up at my mom and said with conviction, "I've made up my mind." With my mom's help, I changed my college applications. From NYU to Harvard. I thought I would be up all night, but I slept surprisingly well. I woke up around noon. Still groggy, I glanced at my phone. I saw 2 new voice messages from a priority contact on my Messenger app. It was Joanna. Her voice, coming through the speaker, was cold. "Louis, when you're done with your tantrum, unblock me. How old are you, still playing these games? Henry felt so guilty about you leaving yesterday. He said he didn't know how to make it up to you and even went up to the roof and threatened to jump. Luckily, I talked him down. We still have a while before school starts, so I'm thinking of taking him and a few of the guys to Aspen for a ski trip to clear their heads. Don't be jealous. Ultimately, his suicide attempt was partly your fault." Her shamelessness made me laugh out loud. Henry try to kill himself? As if, back in school, he bragged about being the ultimate guy's guy and every girl's dream. He always said he wasn't like those other melodramatic, broody guys. But he was the most manipulative person I had ever met. For example, 4 months ago, at my best friend Mark's 18th birthday party. Mark had picked out a nice suit and gotten his hair styled, ready to take some great photos to remember the milestone. But Henry was the only one who wouldn't cooperate. The moment he walked into the room, he started loudly teasing Mark. "Mark, you're looking pretty ripped. Got a girlfriend? Don't be shy. We're all friends here. What's there to hide?" When he saw Mark's face turn white with anger, he immediately threw his hands up in a gesture of surrender and turned the tables. "Dude, why are you guys so sensitive? Can't you take a joke? Fine, my bad. This is why I hate hanging out with you guys. You make a big deal out of everything." Another time, when everyone was exhausted from studying for the SATs, he went around taking ugly pictures of us, made them into memes, and posted them all on the school's confessions page with the caption, "Hotties from grade 12, class 2. Come and get M." He only stopped after we all reported him to our homeroom teacher. Besides, I'd known for 2 years that he only joined the basketball team as the team assistant to get closer to Joanna. I just never took him seriously. Back then, I was arrogant, thinking that what was mine couldn't be easily taken away. Now that it has been taken, I accept it. I guess I was a poor judge of character. I saved a snake when I was a kid. Louis, if you have any decency, you'll come and apologize to everyone, especially Henry. Joanna's messages kept popping up. I didn't even listen to the whole voice message before blocking and deleting her on that app too. Outside my door, my mom was calling for me to go shopping for winter clothes. It gets pretty cold in Boston in the winter. "Mom's gonna take you to buy some warm coats." I nodded. But I never expected that after buying clothes on the 2nd floor of the mall. Just as we were about to leave, we would run into Joanna and her friends. In a crowd of girls, Henry stood out, dressed in trendy, black streetwear. He spotted me, walked over, and casually slung an arm around my shoulder. "Louis, what a coincidence. I felt so bad about yesterday. I had no idea you were so sensitive. I just see Joanna as one of the guys, you know? Don't be mad. Okay?" Henry wiped away a non-existent tear. "Really, it was all my fault. If I had been more careful, you wouldn't have left." "Ma'am, even though I was so guilty I almost jumped off the roof. Please don't blame. Are you done?" My mom interrupted, a mocking smile on her face. Kids these days. So young and already experts at that whole manipulative guy best friend act. My son isn't holding a grudge because we raised him to have class, to not resort to insults. But what about your parents? All you do is hang around a group of girls. Do you even know what personal boundaries means? If your parents won't teach you, then let me. This kind of behavior. This is what the internet calls a classic nice guy. I had to smile. I quickly pushed him away, adding, "Your cologne is too strong. We're not close. Please stop acting like we are." Henry froze. When my mom's words finally registered, his face changed, and he just stood there, lost. Jenna immediately jumped to his defense. "Ma'am, do you have any manners? Henry almost jumped off a building because of your son." I glanced at her briefly. I remembered her. She was the one who had said, "What could he do even if he heard? Who'd want a cripple anyway? He's lucky a girl like you even pities him." A wave of nausea washed over me. "Louis, Joanna instinctively moved toward me, about to take my hand like she always did. "Joanna." But when she heard Henry's quiet call and saw the hurt in his eyes, Joanna stopped. She squeezed Henry's hand to comfort him and couldn't help but say, "Ma'am, that was completely out of line. Henry didn't mean any harm. This whole thing is Louis's fault for throwing a tantrum, and it almost led to Henry killing himself. Henry's still young, he just graduated from high school. He's only 19. 19? My mom raised an eyebrow, then smiled. You say he's young at 19, but my son is only 18. They're both in the prime of their lives. My son didn't do anything, so how did he become the villain in your story, the one who almost drove someone to their death? Joanna, I remember when you were little, playing with Louis, vowing to protect him. You've changed so much. I'm truly disappointed in you." Joanna was speechless. She continued to wipe Henry's tears, but her mind was clearly elsewhere. The others behind her, perhaps unable to find a retort, also remained silent. I was bored. I was about to pull my mom away and leave, but Joanna grabbed my wrist. Her eyes fell on the shopping bags filled with winter clothes, and she said without thinking, "You don't need clothes that thick for New York." Then, as if a thought struck her, her eyes lit up, and her grip on my wrist tightened. "So you were just faking it all along, blocking me and giving me the silent treatment. You bought these winter clothes because you want to come skiing in Aspen with us, right?" She talked herself into it, a smile spreading uncontrollably across her face. "Okay, no more games. I'll book your ticket later. The flight is at 10 tomorrow morning. We'll go together." "You've got it all wrong." I pulled my hand free, shattering her fantasy without mercy. "I'm not going to Aspen with you. I'm going to Boston. And by the way, my hearing has been fine for a while now." The triumphant look on Joanna's face vanished. What did you say?" Joanna's face went pale with disbelief. Why didn't you tell me?" I smiled, my eyes cold as ice. "Does it matter? You know exactly what you did, thinking I couldn't hear, don't you?" Joanna clenched her fists, standing frozen and speechless. Henry's eyes flashed with jealousy as he brazenly accused me. "I didn't know you were such a good actor, Lewis. Everyone knows your hearing damage is permanent. It's not something that just gets better." He then widened his eyes in mock surprise. "Wait, don't tell me you thought that if you weren't a cripple anymore, Joanna would fall for you all over again, treat you like her little prince? Wow, I had no idea you were so calculating, Lewis. Joanna, don't fall for it." A flicker of hope returned to Joanna's eyes. She quickly recovered from her panic, a smug smile returning to her face. "Henry's right. Lewis, stop this nonsense. I never said I had a problem with you being disabled, so why lie to me? How about this? You take back what you said and agree to come to Aspen with us, and I'll forget you ever tried to trick me. This is your last chance." I was stunned by her words. I simply couldn't comprehend her bizarre logic. I took my mom's hand and turned to leave. Behind us, someone suddenly said, "I feel like there's something different about Lewis." "What's different about him?" "Same face, same clothes, right? I can't put my finger on it. Just a feeling that something's missing." Henry replied in a whiny, hurt tone, "Lewis has always been arrogant. You're probably just imagining things." The person scratched their head and said, "Yeah, maybe I was just seeing things." The next day, Joanna used Henry's phone to call me repeatedly. I didn't answer a single one. With her flight's boarding time approaching and still a long drive to the airport, Joanna had no choice but to get in the car with her friends. But she couldn't resist sending one last text. "Lewis, you need to be taught a lesson." As she boarded her plane, my parents and I were sitting in the Vance family's living room. Joanna's mother held my hand, complimenting me endlessly. "Lewis, you're getting more handsome every day. I heard from your parents that your estimated score on the college entrance exams is over 600. What a good kid. I'm just waiting for you to marry into the family and finally tame that wild daughter of mine." Listening to the flood of compliments, I sat on the sofa, finding it difficult to bring up the reason for our visit. I didn't know how to start talking about breaking off the engagement. After all, over the years, Mr. and Mrs. Vance had been very good to me. They always sent birthday gifts in advance, we ate New Year's Eve dinner together as two families, and the red envelope they gave me was always the biggest. After some pleasantries, I finally stated our purpose. "Uncle, Auntie, I came here with my parents today to officially call off the engagement that was arranged when I was 9. Mrs. Vance was shocked and rushed to pull me aside. "Lewis, did Joanna do something to upset you? You tell me, and I'll punish her for you. That girl is always getting into trouble, always making you angry." I shook my head, my tone calm. "She already likes someone else. And I've realized that my feelings for Joanna aren't romantic love. Besides, Uncle, Auntie, marriage is about freedom of choice now. We should just consider that old agreement void." Mrs. Vance's expression turned grim. Just as she was about to say something, Mr. Vance cut her off. "Lewis, where's your hearing aid?" At the mention of this, my parents' faces lit up. "He got it treated out of state. His hearing is back to normal now." Mrs. Vance was overjoyed but still wouldn't give up. Louis, why don't you wait for Joanna to come back and discuss it? She has a right to know. You used to follow her around everywhere when you were kids, and you even saved her life. How can you say those feelings are just gone? I looked down at the tea on the coffee table, the surface rippling slightly. Finally, my resolve hardened. Auntie, neither of us loves the other. Let's not torture each other anymore. Mr. Vance sighed, clearly seeing that our family had made up our minds. He stopped his wife's attempts to persuade me and ordered the housekeeper to bring the marriage certificates. Watching the 2 certificates being torn up, burned, and turned to ash, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I asked them, Auntie, I hope you can keep this private for now. We can let it be known slowly over time. They both agreed. But that night, I got a call from Joanna. I instinctively thought she had found out about the engagement being called off. Instead, she said with a sigh, "How could you mess up your college application? You're so clumsy. If I hadn't been paying attention, you would have ended up in Boston. Louis, I've already changed your application back. Henry is also going to NYU. His family isn't well off, they can't even afford the tuition. As his classmate, we should help him out." A hot summer night breeze blew past. I felt a sudden chill, my heart sinking to the bottom of my stomach. She changed my application? Of course. I had always been an open book to Joanna. She knew my likes, my hobbies, and of course, she could recite my phone number and ID number from memory. So, just as the application period was about to close, she had the foresight to check. And then she changed my college choice. I didn't even have time to tell her that changing someone else's college application is illegal. I hung up in a hurry, looked at my phone, and saw the time was 11:58 p.m., just before the deadline. Fortunately, I had my exam ID and personal ID numbers memorized. With the fastest fingers I'd ever had, I managed to change my choice back to Harvard just before the clock struck midnight. Seeing the result confirmed, I finally let out a breath. I was about to message my friend Mark to tell him we'd be going to the same school. But a notification popped up on my social feed. I clicked on it and saw a post from Henry, showing off. The pictures were of him and the girls from the mall, skiing and soaking in a hot spring together. The caption read, "To friends, to my love, to youth, to our best years." The funniest part was that he had tagged me. This was a blatant provocation, wasn't it? I curled my lip, opened my chat with him, and sent a screenshot from a video. "Open your eyes and look at this. I suggest you back off, or I can't guarantee what I'll do." In the chat window, the Henry is typing. Notification appeared and disappeared. But after waiting for a long time, I never received a message from him. When I checked his social feed again, I found he had deleted the post. The stress of studying for the SATs had been intense. Now that it was over, I met up with Mark and we took a road trip through the Southwest, stopping here and there in a few states. Whenever I got a message or call from Joanna, I immediately hung up or deleted it. She interpreted my silence as jealousy. "How long are you going to be mad? Isn't it enough? If you don't reply, I swear I'll take Henry abroad." I ignored her completely. Silence was my only response, followed by blocking and deleting. When it was almost time for school to start, I flew directly to Boston. Meanwhile, Joanna nervously knocked on my front door. In her hands were 2 small, hand-knitted dolls, one blue, one pink, her idea of us. She was already imagining my delighted face when I saw them and could hardly wait. But when the door opened, the person she expected to see wasn't there. She asked reflexively, "Uncle, Auntie, is Louis home? I haven't seen him all summer, so I brought him a gift. And since school's about to start, I thought we could go together." My mom's face was calm as she said flatly, "I forgot to tell you, Joanna. Louis is already at school. He's moved in. You don't need to go with him." Joanna was taken aback but quickly assumed I was still angry. She was about to turn and leave when my dad called her back, offering a vague piece of advice. "Joanna, some things, once they're gone for good. Once school starts, the Keller's company will be very busy. Your aunt and I won't have time for guests. I hope you won't bother us again." Joanna left, confused, and headed home to pack. When she opened her door, she found her parents sitting stiffly on the living room sofa, their faces grim. She was even more bewildered. She said hello and was about to go to her room when her dad stopped her. From now on, don't go to the Keller's house anymore. Louis has gone to college out of state. The engagement was called off over a month ago. From now on, you two are just childhood friends, nothing more. Joanna frowned and said, reflexively, how is that possible? Mom, Dad, are you joking with me? But when she looked up and saw her parents' cold expressions, she slowly began to realize it was true. Mrs. Vance sighed, a look of disappointment on her face. Now that Louis's hearing is fixed, his last flaw is gone. If he wants to get married, there's a long line of girls for him to choose from. Why would he still be interested in our family? Honey, why did you stop me back then? Louis is a soft-hearted kid. If I had just brought up the past and played the pity card, he might not have broken it off. Mr. Vance was impatient. You think a few words would have helped? The Keller's company has surpassed ours for years now. Louis might be easy to fool, but his parents are like wolves protecting their cub. You think I wanted to break off the engagement? I was worried about our company. Listening to them, Joanna was completely stunned. She was silent for a long time before asking, when did his hearing get better? Though confused by her sudden question, her father answered, Old Man Keller said they took him for surgery right after the exams. It's probably been a while. You and your mom were away visiting our ancestors' graves then. So Louis probably didn't get a chance to tell you. Joanna's mind flashed back to my birthday party. She remembered taking off my hearing aid and the words she had said to me. You little burden. I'm so sick of you. I really wish you hadn't made it back then. That you'd just died. And she remembered what Henry had said when he agreed to their date. Joanna, you passed my test. Now I believe you don't actually like Louis. So, yeah, we can go on a date tomorrow. Every word was like a needle piercing her lungs, a sharp, cold pain. Joanna's vision went dark, and she suddenly remembered that day at the mall. When she was with her friends buying winter clothes and ski gear, she had run into my mom and me. After we left, one of her friends had said, I feel like there's something different about Louis. At the time, she had been focused on comforting Henry. She hadn't noticed at all that I wasn't even wearing my hearing aid that day. I heard from a mutual friend that Joanna was looking for me. I wasn't surprised. Perhaps she had finally found out my hearing was fixed and, in hindsight, realized that I had heard every ugly word she said in that room. But none of that mattered anymore. My life in Boston was full. Though the freshman military training was exhausting and I got a few shades darker, I had never felt so free. I joined several clubs and made a lot of new friends. I even went to a mixer hosted by an upperclassman and got a few girls' numbers. So, when I saw that familiar figure standing outside the guy's dorm, I was genuinely surprised. I was about to take a detour, but Joanna saw me first and strode over. Her voice was soft, pleading. Louis, I miss you. Can we talk, please? My roommates, assuming we had a history, gave each other knowing looks before heading off together. I looked up at the sky. I let out a long sigh before looking at her, my face a blank mask. If you have something to say it quickly. I'm busy and need to get some rest. Joanna's eyes turned red, and her voice trembled. I know I was wrong. That day, everyone was just putting me on the spot. I had to say those things. I thought you couldn't hear, so I said it to save face. And when I agreed to Henry's date, it was just a joke. We never actually went out. I laughed out loud. Is that the only reason? I looked at her intently and said softly, You've taken my hearing aid off plenty of times. You've definitely said things just as horrible before, making me the butt of the joke for everyone, haven't you? You say you didn't go on a date with Henry, but weren't you shopping for ski clothes to go to Aspen together? If you did it, don't be a hypocrite and blame everyone else. You always say Henry is young, but I'm a year younger than him. You say his life is hard, but at least he's healthy. Do you have any idea how many dirty looks I've gotten over the years because of my hearing? Did you ever once stand up for me? I would never forget that time in my freshman year of high school. Our debate team had just won a match. As we were leaving, The second speaker from the other team sneered behind us. It's just one debate. It's not like we can't take a loss. At least I'm not disabled. TCH, a guy like that probably can't even get a government job. All he's good for is running his mouth. A pain shot through my chest, and I instinctively looked to Joanna for help. But she just walked away with a cold expression, as if she hadn't heard a thing. I turned back, gathered my courage, and told them to watch their mouths, which only earned me a torrent of ridicule. And everyone on my team, all of them Joanna's friends, didn't say a word in my defense. I had to go home in humiliation and text her to ask why. I still remember her ice-cold words that day. She said, "It's not worth arguing with people like that. We beat them, so they're just looking for a reason to dig at you. Just pretend you didn't hear. Actually, just take off your hearing aid. Then you won't hear anything." That sentence has haunted my nightmares ever since. So I sighed, telling her, "You don't love me, and you don't love Henry. You just love the feeling of having both of us wrapped around your finger. But I am not a tool for you to win praise and admiration. Please stop bothering me." Before I left, I thought for a moment and added, "By the way, there's something I've always wanted to say to you. If I could do it all over again, I would never have saved you. Joanna, I'd rather have let you burn to death. You were never worth it." Watching her stand there in a daze, silent and lost, I turned slightly to avoid her and went upstairs. The next day, Joanna was gone from downstairs. In the dorm, my roommate, who always gets up early for a run, told me. She said she's going back to her school and won't bother you again. I nodded my thanks and went on with my day. Not long after, I found out from a mutual friend's social media that Joanna and Henry were dating. She often sent me messages to complain. Those two are attached at the hip, constantly posting couple pics and being all lovey-dovey. So annoying. I heard Joanna was voted campus queen. I mean, it makes sense. She has great bone structure and her family's rich. No wonder so many guys have a crush on her. I heard Henry is getting a lot of hate for it. By the way, Lewis, how have you been? She was clearly, but not so subtly, trying to get information about me. But I was genuinely busy. I had classes, club activities, and I needed to bond with my roommates. So, every time I chatted with her, my answers were brief and non-committal. But soon, this mutual friend messaged me again with news. Joanna and Henry broke up. I was quite surprised. That was incredibly fast. I listened to the voice messages she sent and learned what happened. In his second month of college, Henry went to Joanna in tears, claiming his ex-girlfriend, Sarah, was pregnant with his child. Joanna initially wanted nothing to do with it, but Henry wouldn't let it go, so she gave him some money to handle it. But Henry wasn't satisfied. "Aren't you worried about her? What if this abortion makes it so she can never have kids again?" Joanna said impatiently, "Do you really think this is some kind of novel? Just deal with it and don't make me get involved." During the argument, Henry claimed that Joanna's heartlessness had made his ex-girlfriend so upset that she fell down the stairs and had a miscarriage. At the hospital, he yelled, "Joanna, you're a venomous snake. You killed my child." It was Joanna's mother, who had rushed over, who had the foresight to hire someone to investigate. They discovered that Henry and his ex-girlfriend, Sarah, already had a son named Zach. There was no recent pregnancy. It was all a scam Henry had set up to get money and sympathy. When confronted with the evidence, his lips trembled, and he couldn't say a word. Because he had also been overly familiar with several other girls during the ski trip, he couldn't even come up with a plausible lie. With that, the Vance family refused to pay him a single cent of compensation. Henry's reputation was ruined. He dropped out of school due to ill health and was never heard from again. I lowered my eyes, listening to our mutual friend's increasingly excited voice messages. I never told her that I was the one who had anonymously tipped off Joanna's mother. The screenshot I had sent to warn Henry was simple. Near the school's equipment room, there was a camera that could just about see inside. I asked a younger student to get me a copy of the footage, and sure enough, it showed Henry with other girls. Later, when he went skiing out of state, I looked at the photos and noticed the distance and eye contact between him and the other girls. I guessed they were involved. But that wasn't enough. I never believed that when something goes wrong, only the guy should pay the price. Isn't this supposed to be a world of equality? I turned off my phone. I went to the library, checked out a few books, and focused on studying for my exams. 2 years later, I went abroad to study as an exchange student. I was in a combined bachelor's-master's program, and I ended up staying for 6 years. The day I returned, my parents came to pick me up at the airport. "Welcome home, sweetheart. Louis, Joanna has been working at the Vance Corporation for a few years now. What about you?" I smiled and took the flowers from my mom. I raised an eyebrow. "I can start at our company too. It just depends on whether you two will let me." Over the years, I had kept track of Joanna's movements, and I knew about the shady things she was doing behind the scenes. I had been patient for so long. It was time to close the net. After taking over the company, I snatched several of Joanna's biggest contracts, one by one. The Vance Corporation was no match for the Keller Group to begin with. On top of that, the scandal with Henry had made her a laughingstock at her university. She had dropped out before even finishing her degree and had no real business acumen. Every time she went to question a client and try to win them back, she failed. "Louis, are you retaliating against me? It's been over 8 years. Shouldn't you have cooled down by now? Can we please talk?" While she was desperately trying to get a meeting with me, I was personally submitting the evidence of her tax evasion and money laundering that she had committed since taking over the Vance Corporation. As a result, Joanna was arrested at the airport. I stood a short distance away, quietly watching as she was taken into custody. Joanna's face was contorted in pain, and she seemed to want to say something. I moved a couple of steps closer and heard her ask agonizingly, "Why?" I couldn't help but laugh. "You're asking me why? When you insulted me back then, why didn't you ask why? When you laughed at me for being deaf, why didn't you ask why? Besides, all I did was report you. If you were innocent, why would you be arrested?" Getting evidence of her crimes wasn't hard. In recent years, I've sponsored a number of promising students from poor rural areas and helped many university students. One of those young women happened to work at the Vance Corporation and tipped me off. That's all. I was never a pushover. After that debate tournament, I had seen Joanna for who she really was. She was a hypocrite, always acting aloof and detached, and profoundly selfish. But I wasn't strong enough yet. My wings hadn't fully grown. So I waited, enduring until my high school graduation birthday party. I knew my chance had come. I could righteously break off the engagement and not go to the same university as her. I could go abroad to study, cut off all contact, and wait for the right moment to pull her down from her pedestal. As it turned out, I succeeded, and Joanna Vance was out of the game. After hearing my explanation, Joanna was completely speechless. As she was led away in handcuffs, she stumbled, her steps unsteady. In the end, she was sentenced to 7 years in prison. I left the Vance family with some dignity. I only dismantled their business empire. I didn't target the Vance Corporation itself. It was the last shred of decency I could offer. By the time I was 32, I was a well-known name on the Forbes list. Joanna, due to good behavior, was granted an early release. She said she wanted to see me one more time. I agreed. In the coffee shop downstairs from my office, she looked weary and aged. She hesitated before asking if there were a next life, and I hadn't said those things. Could we have had a chance to be together? I took a sip of my latte. Then I told her, my face devoid of expression, a person's true nature is baked into their bones. It's bound to come out sooner or later. Asking these questions is pointless. Joanna gave a bitter smile, rubbed her face roughly, and left. Not long after, the Vance Corporation filed for bankruptcy. On the way back to her hometown with her parents, Joanna was in a car accident. Karma, perhaps. She suffered a head injury that left her deaf. Her left leg was also permanently damaged, leaving her partially disabled. Her parents were fine, just some concussions that would heal with rest. According to someone at the hospital that day, Joanna just lay in her hospital bed, crying and laughing, muttering over and over, "It's karma. She must have lost her mind."